and green transitions, with a focus on shifting the nation's energy sector and economy towards sustainability and long-term economic growth underpinned by renewable energy. This includes promoting renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, biomass, mini hydros, and other new forms of renewable energy to ensure that we have a just and equitable transition to a low-carbon future. In this regard, the ministry has launched the Ghana Scaling Up Renewable Energy Program, known as SREP, and we did this on 30th May 2025 at Lala. This project is funded with an 85 million grant from the African Development Bank, Climate Investment Fund, SECO, and the Government of Ghana. The project aims to deploy 12,000 net-metered solar PV systems across homes, construct 35 mini-grids to supply electricity to 70,000 people in 47 island communities, and ensure that we supply 1,450 solar home systems for off-remote grid households and public facilities. The ministry is also facilitating the development of a 200 megawatt solar project at various locations across the country. In addition, a 25 megawatt floating solar plant is being built at the Bui power station to bring the total capacity to 30 megawatts, with the floaters being manufactured locally in line with our local content participation policy. The VRA is also developing a 30 megawatt floating solar facility at the Pong Hydro Reservoir and is being funded by KFW. What we are seeking to do is that we are deploying a lot of solar panels to feed into the grid hydropower so that the high participation in the renewable energy sector in solar energy technologies. And this will certainly create a lot of jobs. And we are also hosting the 7th Africa Regional Committee of the International Solar Alliance from 2nd to 4th September 2025 under my leadership as Vice President of the Alliance. And I encourage all of you to participate in this progress, and we'll be going to Parliament for approval. To address the funding gap and to ensure that we achieve our objective, we have established a Renewable Energy and Green Transition Fund so that we can leverage on that fund to raise capital to invest
GBC, 90 years of
that
impact.
We commence the installation of all-in-one solar street lights. We intend to do 23,000.
The conversation that matters to social justice, economy, panel will dissect the issues that shape our world.
600 megawatts.
Filtered insights, unapologetic
200 megawatts. And so if we can take them off and put them on solar systems, it means that we'll be shaving off about 200 to 300 megawatts, and that will contribute significantly towards efficiency in the sector. We are working very hard to also bring some departments, agencies, and government schools and clinics on board by installing solar rooftops. And if we do that, it means that we'll also be bringing about efficiency and reducing the electricity bills of these institutions. A couple of weeks ago, we launched our EV promotion program so that these EV vehicles would depend on solar for charging. I commissioned the first one at the Energy Commission. Ministers driving EV vehicles will roll it out to other departments and heads of agencies. Some of who are here will be driving EV vehicles powered by solar power.
Experience. Get ready for
we
the
will, in
hottest
collaboration with the
vibe.
private sector, extend it to commercial drivers and other users so that EV vehicles would become a norm as far as the nation is concerned. This year, the ministry is developing a 5-year strategic document for the implementation of renewable energy and our green transition agenda. This will serve as a blueprint to guide us so that Ghana can, that is the electricity sector. Ladies, indeed showing signs of stabilization and improvement, driven by ongoing reforms aimed at addressing both technical and financial challenges, as well as modernizing infrastructure. The persistent and erratic power outages that had plagued the country when we assumed office during the beginning of the year has witnessed a remarkable improvement and reliable supply of power. And you can attest to the fact that we are now experiencing reliable, uninterruptible supply of power. This Sunday, when we were undertaking the upgrading of the ENI facility to increase gas production, fortunately, through the collaborative effort with all the stakeholders and our technical team, we were able to conduct that operation successfully without switching even 1 megawatt off. And when I went to social media, some people said they were very disappointed. Others said that the Honorable Minister had forgotten that he has to switch the lights off. It all attests to that we've made. As the incidence of unplanned outages, because it was becoming too much. This program involved patrolling and mapping overhead line feeders, identifying construction defects and interference from structures such as buildings, billboards, vegetation, as well as those from rainfall. We identified most of these defective equipment for the tremendous work they've done so far. They've constituted 4 gangs alone for Accra, working on a 24-hour shift in line with the President's vision. And when we identify a problem, they're swiftly moving to address those challenges. To add to that, they've procured about 200 new critical transformers to beef up the distribution system to ensure that we reduce the outages. The current stability of the distribution network is due in part to some of these initiatives and policy interventions that we have put in place. We are also working with ECG to rationalize all the contracts. Indeed, if you compare this year to last year in terms of expenditure, we are spending about 30% or 40% of what was spent in 2024 when it comes to procurement. And we are achieving better results with value for money and ensuring that we adhere to strict procurement procedures and processes. And I'm very happy that we are bringing about all this efficiency in the sector, because the gains we make would be transferred to the ordinary consumer. I can assure you that we are not going to witness the kind of procurements we witnessed over the years. And as minister, I take full responsibility.
The specific
to ensure
areas
that
are up for reviews. The goods in these containers were not part of the materials locked up at the ports. These are new containers. Board has approved the outright termination of 202 of these contracts. The total value of these contracts is estimated at 227 million United States dollars, 1.17 million pounds, 4.08 million euros. The remainder of the 145 contracts are we are determined to ensure that we clean the sector. The ministry has also signed some KPIs with management, and management has also signed KPIs with the regional office, and will hold them to account. We are implementing a new billing system, and we've done that in record 3 months. When we assumed office, we realized that the billing system was not fit for purpose. There were a lot of irregularities. And I'm happy to note that the ECG has successfully transitioned to a new billing system they call ZEUS. And all other commercial operations have been restored as I speak. ECG has also taken advantage of the transition to enhance its billing system to ensure that ECG fully complies with the cash waterfall mechanism. I also directed that they operate a single holding account, and also directed that account should be opened with the Ghana Commercial Bank, a state-owned bank. I'm happy to announce that all that has been complied with. This is ensuring that so far there's constant flow of cash to electricity generators,
fuel suppliers, GridCo, VRA, and all the other power sector players. This has also to ensure that there's some minimum guarantee when it comes to payments to the IPPs. And if you check this year as against last year, by the middle of this year, and so in the first 6 months, the amount paid exceed what was paid the whole of last year. And it's because of the prudence and the stringent measures that were put in place. We are not out of the woods in its entirety, but at least under the instructions of His Excellency the President, have been directed to review the cash waterfall mechanism allocation to increase efficiency, transparency, and equity in its operations. We are making some additional savings, and we want to ensure that those savings
at 3:30 p.m. on GBC News.
To increase efficiency, transparency, and equity in these operations, we are making ECG's monthly revenues is witnessing some significant increase to same period last year. And so as you can see, we are seeing some real significant increase in revenues. But because of the huge challenges, represents about 47.3% increment as compared to same period last year.
Top notch.
So as you can see,
we will dive into the latest batch from Parliament.
Increase in revenues. But because of the huge challenges and the debt that we encounter communities, and we are launching a massive electrification project to ensure that we achieve universal access to electricity by the end of 2028. To ensure that we increase the revenues and also bring about efficiency, Cabinet has approved the private sector participation in ECG's distribution network. And let me put on recollection sector. And I encourage Ghanaians to take a keen interest in this. We have good Ghanaian entrepreneurs, good Ghanaian businessmen. This is an opportunity for you. Get involved and help us to bring about improvement in the sector. Ladies and gentlemen, as part of further measures, we've gone to Parliament to seek approval to restrain government. We have to open a competitive bidding process so that we get the best value for money. We've also established a committee in collaboration with the Minister of Finance, chaired by Mr. Ben Bwanche, who you all know, very learned, very astute, a man with integrity, to renegotiate even the existing PPAs that we have with the IPPs, so that we can make further savings. We are going to install a lot of street lights in line with our 24-hour economic policy to provide that. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now take you to the petroleum sector. As I said, with bold policies, both domestic and international, companies are showing increased activity and interest in Ghana's petroleum sector. The resurgence is driven by a combination of factors, including government policy aimed at assuring current industry players, whilst attracting would-be investors and promising new discoveries. The government is actively engaging major international companies to promote Ghana's sedimentary basins for exploration. Discussions are ongoing with the super majors. And when we talk of the super majors, we're talking of upstream petroleum sector. GMPC is also collaborating with other companies to increase exploration, particularly in our Votean basin. It is therefore not surprising that within the last month, the government has supported 2 operators to conclude appraisal of some existing discoveries. The appraisal of the Afina discovery in the West Cape 3 Block 2 and Urban Akoma discoveries have all been completed successfully, resulting in the declaration of commercial oil discovery. Ladies and gentlemen, these mean that these fields merit development and production and will be brought on stream for production in due course. What it means is that the decline that we've witnessed over the past 5 years in Ghana's hydrocarbon production and revenues in the near future. Urban Akoma is scheduled for a fast-track division Appraisal of our procurement is currently ongoing. The government, as part of efforts to secure additional investment, has also signed an MOU with our Jubilee partners, and they intend to spend around 2 billion in the upstream petroleum. We are seeing very, very positive trends in the petroleum sector. And the petroleum sector has a direct relationship with the power sector. And so far, since assuming office for the past 6 months, we've been able to stabilize fuel supply for power plants and ensure consistent supply of electricity. We've successfully increased gas from N-gas from the 80 mm SCAF that we inherited, from 245 mm SCAF to 270 mm SCAF. Jubilee is also increasing its gas by 30 mm SCAF. So this is a three-pronged positive news approach when it comes to the production of gas. And that also are helping to reduce reliance on expensive liquid fuels and enhance generation efficiency. We're undertaking a lot of cost-cutting measures through the Petroleum Commission and enhance our regulatory environment. We are also undertaking some fiscal regime reforms. We've constituted a committee to take a second look at our entire upstream fiscal regime so that we can be competitive as compared to our neighbors. Cote d'Ivoire is fast overtaking us. And as a neighbor, if we don't get our act well and begin to make progress, we may lose out even as we go through the energy transition. We are also promoting local content, and we'll put Ghanaians at the forefront of what we do when it comes to the upstream petroleum sector. In the downstream sector, the thermal oil refinery, unfortunately, has been left to rot without any significant improvement over the last few years. The turnaround maintenance team has been commissioned under the leadership of the current management to ensure that we bring the refinery back on stream. As of December 2024, the refinery debt situation took over. The debt was $350, and so almost $200 million of fresh debt has been added to the debt stock of the thermal oil refinery. As if that is not enough, the refinery has not published its audited account since 2019. We've since engaged auditors to conduct this audit and present same to SIGA and government for action. The new management, under the leadership of His Excellency President Mahama, is relying on its own IGF for the refinery startup. And I encourage the current administration and management to give up their best. When it comes to gas, the implementation committee for the second gas processing plant has concluded its initial work and presented its final report to the steering committee at the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. The submission represents a significant milestone towards Ghana's quest to build a second. We shall roll out a roadmap, and you would appreciate what we are doing in order to construct a second gas processing plant. Our ultimate aim, supplied by Ghana Gas, directed them to cut a lot of costs and refocus on their core mandate. Over the past 8 years, Ghana Gas has not added even 1 kilometer of pipeline to the infrastructure they inherited from us. I have told them that is unacceptable. And let me make it clear to Ghana Gas, as minister, I would have to crack the whip and ensure that you focus on your core mandate and spend your revenues on areas that will benefit the Republic of Ghana. And I intend to do exactly that. We are also focused on the Ghana cylinder because we believe that we can manufacture and produce all our cylinders domestically. The company's machinery dates back to 1998 and has become somewhat obsolete. The retooling process that we have started is expected to enhance capacity, reduce waste, and align Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company with international production standards. On this note, let me commend and congratulate Ghana Gas for the amount they've released to Ghana Cylinder so far. We are working with Ghana Commercial Bank to raise a facility to retool and revamp Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing. And we are coming out with a local content policy. Once we have that capacity, we have to procure those cylinders and put Ghana cylinder on the path of recovery. I'm happy to announce that, in line with current trends, and very soon we shall go to Cabinet and Parliament with a new NPA Act. Let me also commend the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company for the efficiency they've brought into the company so far. I made hope for Burkina to uplift its products. Boss is also working very well to ensure that we improve on our strategic stock. And I commend the MD and his deputy for showing leadership and demonstrating competence when it comes to boss. To end it, I want to also thank the Petroleum Hub. So far, they are doing very well. They've embarked on some investment drive. We want the Petroleum Hub to anchor our petroleum sector, both upstream and downstream, and attract investments so they can help us in what we are doing to reposition Ghana as the main hub for the West African sub-region. I know that we have commenced export of power to Burkina, to Togo, to Benin, and even to Cote d'Ivoire. That's a positive trajectory. We'll continue on that. To conclude, distinguished guests, for the future of our energy sector. Together, we've made significant strides, and I'm proud to share our achievements. First, that we've made considerable progress. We've worked tirelessly to ensure a consistent and reliable energy supply for all citizens. Secondly, we focused on increasing our petroleum reserves and promoting local content. Our efforts, as I've stated, has begun to yield positive results. We are committed to building a business-friendly environment. We are working with Springfield, we are working with ENI. So far, as you may be aware, the unitization debacle, we've resolved it. We are also working with Talo to settle our issues out of court. We are in arbitration. We lost the first case. We don't want to get to the second level. We believe that we can sit around the table and resolve our differences amicably. On the ECG containers, I have received approval from the Chief of Staff, and just this morning, we are constituting a task force led by the Deputy Minister of Energy, with Customs, with GRA, with National Security, and all the relevant agencies, ECG, on board that committee. We intend to establish a custom-bonded warehouse where we evacuate all the containers to that custom-bonded warehouse, take all the stock and reconcile with all the figures to determine the exact amount of containers that have been retrieved. We'll also go through Cabinet to Parliament for approval to exempt taxation on those containers, because there are some critical items in the containers. ECG will use some. The ministry will also leverage on some of the containers and embark on a massive intensification. All my sector heads, all the agencies, and to thank my brother, the Honorable Felix Ofosu Kwache, for demonstrating leadership and providing us with this platform. I'm confident that we'll continue to build on these achievements for a brighter energy sector. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister for Energy and Green Transitions, for that brief but comprehensive address. I think that you maximize the time to our admiration. At this juncture, I would open the floor for questions. I know that there are many questions agitating your mind, but I need to spell out the rubric clearly. In order to save time and be able to admit as many questions as possible, I would ask that you limit yourself to questions that are relevant to the occasion, questions that relate to the presentation that has been made, or any other matters within the energy and green transition sector that may not have been broached. No lengthy preambles. Please go straight to your points so that we can take as many questions as possible. Please identify yourself and indicate which media organization you are representing. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Minister, thank you. My name is Abdul Haran Adam. I work with the IB Network. Minister, the last point you touched on, you said you are going to set up a task force, but on 29th of March 2025 to investigate the issue of the missing containers, but evacuate, rather, sorry. Okay, so let me ask my question. 14 people were arrested and 10 of them were foreign nationals and 4 were Ghanaians. How far with prosecution of these individuals? Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
My name is Shadrach Odamejare, Metro TV. My question has to do with power theft, what the ministry is doing on power theft, as it's also hampered the work of ECG and other companies that are involved. And then on the smart meters from the previous government, they started installing some smart meters, and people have complained about how fast the 1 week, supposed 1 week cards they have bought are able to last just 2 or 3 days. So I want to know if there is anything being done in that effect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Patrick Ascott, we do Radio Gold. And I just want to find out from Honorable, one of the things that the past administration said was to decouple the hydro and the thermal assets of VRA. So that they will belong to different entities. I want to find out from him if he's still considering that particular move. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nabu watching India Krakofila XYZ broadcasting. But John Pimpino, Ubereli say, it does a bang as a saying agency. Omudinam Kaniaka, Omunchaka, to Beshe, Nagoya, Internuso. Kwambe na dango orifa so sene be ya ye benya sesika no so die free that's it we kwa mo no papa
ana papa cho he
ya kwaso
me pa cho me question say yet PDS and ye machine e ko twa da ye difference ben the honorable came any PDS in them new private participation now come asem PPP now come yem PDS be and after so Mr. Tor now say from 2019 omonye auditing no a criminal pacho mo ye
one say be o kase if
pacho class media.
So we'll take the last one for this section, and then the minister will answer. And we'll come back.
My name is Kester Crunchy. I write for the Daily Graphic. So I wanted to know from the minister Shell's participation in the Peckham field. What's the viability of it, and what does it bring to the sector? Shell's participation in Peckham, the field. The president has been talking about it. What's the viability of it, and what does it bring to the sector? Also, I wanted to know how much of the energy sector debt that the government met has been paid. Which companies were the beneficiaries? Thirdly, Car Power was threatening to shut down operations. I wanted to know the negotiations that have been made so far.
Thank you very much. So the minister will answer these 5 questions and then come back to take another set of questions.
Thank you very much. On the prosecution of the missing containers, I know that the state agencies are pursuing it. I know that there are caution statements have been taken, and the Attorney General is pursuing that. And I'm sure that when the Attorney General has his turn, he will throw more light on that. We have 2 issues to deal with. We want to retrieve almost all the containers, if not all. But those who were involved in all that, I hold a view, and I strongly hold that view, that the law should deal with them. And that is my position. It's as simple as that. On the issue of power theft, we've been working very hard with ECG and NEDCO. In fact, NEDCO, recently some of our staff were attacked when they went on their routine work to ensure that we recover revenue as much as we can. Because anytime you have 3 people consuming power and one does not pay, it means that 2 have to shoulder the burden for the other. And so it's in our own interest to ensure that we help these utilities to recover their revenues. And so let me use this opportunity to appeal to all the people in the NEDCO area in particular to collaborate with us. It is for the good of the country, and it's to ensure that we are able to supply power. That ties into agencies. Cabinet approved a policy where all agencies, aside some critical agencies like hospitals, schools, the military, and the police, they were not completely exempted. And let me clarify this. They are supposed to be put on post-payment meters, and then the Ministry of Finance will budget and pay for them. Any other agency must be on prepayment meter so that you can plan. So far it's working. It's not been easy, but we are making some progress. And I'm happy with the level of progress we are making. We have to continue. We have no choice than to do that. And I want us to do that because if you want to involve the private sector, then you must raise your company to a level where when the private sector is taking over, they would have a lot more work to do. If we don't do that, what it means is that the private sector will just take over and tweak some few areas and begin to make millions out of us. And so far, what we are doing shows that we are making progress. And we are deploying the smart meters. The Ministry of Finance is helping us. We haven't abandoned it. We needed to do some audits and do some rationalization because we saw a lot of inefficiency when it comes to the smart meters. And also to audit them so that the issues of the Usain Bolt smart meters are dealt with. The question on whether we intend to have a separate, whether we intend to split VRA. No, our vision, and if you read our manifesto, we rather want to merge VRA and BIDAM so that we'll have 3 compartments or 3 entities under that holding company. A thermal company, so that you bring all the thermal assets and put it under one structure. A hydro company, bring all the hydro assets, put it under one structure. Then renewable, then you bring all the renewables and put it under one structure. We do not intend to sell these assets. We rather want to optimize. So if you bring all the hydro sector together, then they can talk among themselves, they can bring about efficiency, and they can reduce overall cost. So you have a holding company, and then you have these 3 entities, bodies, companies, or institutions, so they can work efficiently and then build capacity. Then PDS, no, we are not going for the PDS approach. The PDS was not a bad approach in terms of that private sector. The only bad thing was that some few greedy individuals decided to cannibalize the process and to sell the shares among themselves. If they had stuck to what we were doing and ensure that there was value for money, competitive process, and less political interference, even in this bad form, it showed that the revenues were increasing. So it means that if we can do it better, then we can get real results out of it. And I have assured you and Ghanaians that we would not get involved when it comes to the shares or how people benefit from that company. And that's why we're even involving a transaction advisor from the World Bank just to bring that transparency. But we will own it, we would ensure that we drive it, but we want to do it through a competitive and transparent process. The question was on their audit. Well, the Attorney General will take that up. And then Shell's participation. That's very positive. I mean, the signaling effect alone is very, very good. That you are hearing the super majors such as Shell, Exxon, Chevron, and all these big boys showing interest in Ghana. I think it's very positive news. We're also working with Petrobras and some other companies. So we have a good story to tell. Then the debts. Yes, Power had threatened to shut down. We had a lot of extensive engagement with them. Under the leadership of His Excellency the President, we were able to raise some money to pay some portions of the debts, quite significant. And I can make that available to you. When we assumed office, ENI, the previous administration had drawn down the guarantee, which was 500 million, to almost zero. So far, we've restored about half of that. And we have a program with ENI and World Bank to restore the guarantee back to 500 million. When you do that, it gives you leverage and it makes your debt servicing much, much lower. Also, we are paying ENI and Tallow. And then West African Gas Pipeline, the reverse flow. You no longer hear of them threatening to shut down. It's because we are paying them. So clearly, as far as I can tell, we are seeing some real improvements in the sector. We just have to continue on that trajectory. We'll take some tough decisions, but we would appeal to Ghanaians to bear with us. These decisions are necessary to ensure that we bring that sector back on stream. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll proceed to take the second and final batch of questions.
Komla Kusha, work at TV3. You spoke about termination of contract at ECG. Are there potential judgment debts?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Akosi Aucha, City FM and Channel 1 TV. Minister, data from the National Petroleum Authority for the period of 2025 January to now, or to May, indicates that oil marketing companies, that is Star Oil, has taken over as leader of the space. I want to find out what is the plan by government to turn around the fortunes of Goil as a state company. And then secondly, I want to find out the fuel allowance cut by government. I want to find out what is the projected savings from that decision that you're taking. Thank you.
All right.
Minister, good morning. I'm Kenneth. I work with Joy News. With the explanations that you gave, it appears that the energy sector is on the right trajectory, although we're not out of the woods yet. Now, today, the 1 cedi levy on petroleum products take effect. It was famously suspended because we were told of the Iran-Israel crisis. Now, that has ended. And listening to the minister, like I mentioned, it was postponed because of the crisis that we were witnessing. Now, just today, the prices of fuel have gone up. I want to find out how much debt in the energy sector have we cleared, and looking at the trajectory that we're going, price of fuel are likely to go up again. Is this 1 Ghana cedi levy on the energy sector here to stay? Or will it get to a point where we say enough is enough, we've gotten enough revenue from it, so we're going to clear it? Thank you.
In other words, we're asking if there's a sunset clause.
If there's a what?
A sunset clause. All right, so the minister will answer these questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Termination of contracts, I've directed that they ought to be done in accordance with law, and they should follow due process. So if you were awarded a contract and you were told to deliver in 6 months, and it's about 8 months and you haven't delivered, and you show no cause of ability to deliver, I'm not sure that you can hold the company to ransom. But some of these companies even ask that the contracts be terminated. Because when they looked at the financial health of ECG and where the company was going, they knew that it was really tough. And so ECG is now grappling with a huge debt of about 67 billion cedis in terms of its outstanding liabilities. And we have to work to address some of these challenges. And this is despite all the revenues that we got in terms of ESLA revenues, which far supersede 45 billion. What the Minister of Finance has done is that he's rationalized all the ESLA revenues and brought them under one account dedicated to paying legacy debt. What happened, and that is why the delevy had to come, is that because of the increased demand and because of the weak infrastructure, we had to consume more liquid fuels. These were unplanned. But that means that once that came, we had to shoulder that. And so we had to fall on a bit of the ESLA to take care of that. But now with the levy, it means that we can have some dedicated funding for liquid fuels. Then we can strictly apply the ESLA levies to deal with the legacy debt. And like I told you, if not for anything, the $500 million that was depleted in terms of the partial risk guarantee from the World Bank is being restored. ENI's bills are being paid and we are current. Talos bills are also being paid. Nigerian Gas, we paid them about $20 million, if my memory serves me right. WAPI, West African Gas Pipeline, we paid them about 12 million initially. Now, because of the efficiency, we no longer go to the Minister of Finance to pay WAPI. We intend that we won't go to the Minister of Finance to pay NGAS. We intend that we'll be able to procure our own liquid fuels so that you can free the fiscal space for the Minister of Finance to deal with the legacy debt. So that is what I have to say when it comes to those legacy debts. Star Oil, to the best of my knowledge, is a Ghanaian company. And so we should encourage Star Oil to grow, just as we encourage oil to grow. And we're undertaking some reforms, even in terms of government's commitments and procurement in the sector, to ensure that we help Goil, but also help the other Ghanaian companies, because they also employ Ghanaians. Goil
is a listed company. And so sometimes, even though government has about 80% of the shares, because it's a listed company, when we are directing them, sometimes I have to do it through boss and the rest because of the issues. But I'm meeting them tomorrow. I'm meeting the Goil board tomorrow. Tuesday, I want to have a frank and open discussion with them. Their liabilities are quite huge, and it threatens the nation because fuel security is very important. If Goil goes down, you can imagine the impact on the economy. And so I've told them that I do not intend to take over the company, but I want to see how we can collaborate together so that we can turn around the fortunes of the company and put it on a positive trajectory. Fuel allowance, the president said we shouldn't take fuel allowance. The Minister of Finance does the payment, and so he's working with the Minister of Information, and the Minister of Information will throw more light on that. The only thing I know is that all of us have to buy fuel on our own. So we are all shouldering the burden and showing commitment. The final one is when de-levy. What can I say? We'll keep monitoring. We're supposed to implement it. And as a responsible government, we thought that at that time, with the way the fuel prices were going up, if you add a de-levy, then you'll be taking a double knock. Yes, it's going up marginally today, but imagine if the world market prices were increasing the way they were, then you'll be taking a double effect. And we thought that in managing an economy, it's not like buying and selling. It's a prudent way. You do a balancing act in order to carry people along whilst raising revenue. And so we think that this is the time to do that, because we must also save the energy sector. And so I would appeal to Ghanaians to bear with us. It's a very tough decision, but it's a necessary decision that we have to take for the overall benefit of the economy. We'll keep monitoring. We'll account to you, and where we need to do adjustment, and it's evident that we need to do those adjustments. As a government, I'm very confident that we'll be willing to do that. Minister, I guess this is the last. I gave the indicators and I said we'll compile that and make it available to you. I would engage finance. Normally the debts are paid by the Ministry of Finance. And so I will furnish that information to Minister responsible for government communication. We'll give you a full chart of what we've paid so far, what we inherited, where we are, and what we've done so far, in a very transparent way, so we can make progress. Let me thank all of you. I'm grateful.
All right, thank you very much, Minister, for this briefing. Indeed, it has shed light on many of the issues that were agitating our minds. Let me remind friends of the media present here that on Friday, the Minister for Health, the Honorable Kwabena Minta, will be here to account for his stewardship in the last 6 months and answer any questions that you may have. On Monday, the Minister for Defense will be here to show how he has proved Ghana against external aggression and how he has been able to oversee the affairs of the Defense Ministry. Then on Wednesday, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources will be here to give a briefing on the fight against galamsey and all matters relating to land and the management of our natural resources. And then on Friday, next week Friday, the Minister for Justice and Attorney General will be here to give an overview of the fight against corruption, which we have dubbed Oral. And then he has a particular case he calls Rumble in the Jungle. So he will shed light on this Rumble in the Jungle, which has to do with the overall effort to punish corruption and retrieve whatever it is that may have been illicitly accrued by public office holders. So until then, I thank you all for coming. Good morning.